Hi, I'm the Dreaded Geek. Welcome back. Today we're going to do a review of a fairly casual card game that I bought a little while ago. This is not a gamer's game. I bought it for my casual gaming times, but also because it's a nostalgic reminder of video gaming in the 80s and 90s, which is the games that I grew up with. If that, like me, that's what you grew up with and you have that nostalgia for video games of that era, the amusement in this game from that is well worth the cost of the game on its own. So bear in mind that that's a major aspect of the game as we're talking through it. If, however, you are younger than that, or never got into video gaming, or don't care for the games of your youth, then a lot of what interested me in this game in the first place will be missing for you. However, there may still be something to interest you, so stick around and watch the review. The game we're talking about is Bus Monster, the dungeon building card game. Although I only have the main game's box here, I do have the first expansion, as far as I know, only expansion for the game, already mixed into these cards, the Tools of Hero Kind expansion. I will talk about what comes in that expansion as we go, so you don't expect to see everything in this review when you buy the base game. The point of Bus Monster is a reversal of most dungeon games. You play the role of the Bus Monster of the dungeon, and you build a dungeon to protect you from the heroes, to kill the heroes that are coming to kill you before they get to you. These are the types of cards in the game. The bus cards are distributed one to each player. Most of them are comedy value cards. Some of them you may recognize from, like I said, the games of the 80s and 90s. Cerebellus here may remind some people of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Draculord the Vampire certainly has culture ties. And then there's Zyzax the Lich, an undead version of Gary Gygax come to haunt us gamers. I'm going to use Zyzax for this walkthrough. There are room cards, spell cards, and hero cards. And the item cards are what was added by the Tools of Hero Kind expansion. Some of the heroes and spells and rooms that you may see in this walkthrough were added with the expansion as well, mostly the ones that deal specifically with the items. So to start the game, each player is dealt 2 spell cards and 5 room cards. From these 7 cards, they choose 5 to start the game. That one's not going to be much use to us in the walkthrough. I will get rid of it. I just have too many trap rooms. I will get rid of one of those at random to give me my starting hand of 5. And I will leave these open here at the bottom of the table for now. As I said before, the aim of the game is to build a dungeon to protect your Bus Monster from the heroes that are coming to get you. As you start, there are 2 types of rooms. There are advanced rooms, so you can see on the card, advanced monster room, and normal rooms, the ones that don't say advanced. To start the game, you pick one of your normal rooms and attach it to your Bus Monster. This one has the special ability, when you build this room, draw 2 spell cards, then discard one. So I get an extra spell card in my hand for when I need it. The turn order works as follows. 2 heroes come to town. I have drawn 2 thieves. These 2 heroes will go to one of the player's dungeons, and I'll talk through how that's decided in their turn when I get to that phase of the turn. And they have 4 and 6 hit points respectively, and if they survive the dungeon they do 1 hit point of damage to the monster. A monster has 5 hit points. Some of the rooms allow you to heal, but in general, once 5 heroes or 5 hit points worth of heroes have survived your dungeon, your boss monster dies and you're eliminated from the game. The aim of the game is to collect 10 souls, which is this icon here, from dead heroes that have entered your dungeon. So these 2 thieves come to town. With the expansion, you also get an item. The item assigns to the first hero in town that has a matching loot icon. So this one will assign to the first thief. And it gives him the special ability, while this hero is in your dungeon, ignore all room ability texts in your dungeon. My only room's ability text is already used, so because it was during the build phase, so that won't impact me much. Now it's the build phase. Every player gets to build a room into their dungeon. I have 2 choices. I can build another room, so I can build here, or I can build over the room that I already have, so I can build here. If I want to build one of my advanced rooms, I have to build over a base room, and that base room has to have a matching loot symbol on it. So I could build this advanced trap room over this trap room, which would increase my dungeon's damage to 3 instead of the 1 it currently has. Or I could build another room, which would increase my damage to 2. Neither of those is going to be enough. Neither of those. I can also build a normal room over a normal room with no restrictions at all, but that doesn't increase my damage at all. It's kind of a waste of a card. Neither of those moves is going to be enough for me to kill these 2 heroes. So if I attract these 2 heroes to my dungeon, I am going to lose 2 hit points. So my priority is not going to be trying to increase the damage I can do, because I can't increase it enough, but rather to ensure that I don't attract these 2 heroes. The heroes will go to the dungeon that has the most loot icons that match their specific icon on their card, which is this icon here. I currently have none of them, so I cannot attract these 2 thieves, and I want to keep it that way, so I'm not going to build this room. The other 2 are advanced rooms, and I have to build something if I can, and this is the only advanced room I can build because it has a matching loot symbol with the one I've already played. After the build phase comes the bait phase. The 2 thieves will now decide which of the player's dungeons to attack. They will do that by choosing the dungeon that has the most of the matching loot symbols, as I mentioned earlier, and in the case of a tie, they just stay in town and wait for that tie to be broken. As I have none, my best case scenario is a tie, so they definitely will not be coming to my dungeon. I have set this up as a 1-player game, so I don't know what my opponent's dungeons may or may not look like, but possibly the thieves go off to somewhere else and hurt another boss, or possibly they stay in town. I'll play it like they stay in town for now. I've realized in the process of filming this actually that you could play this game solo. I'm not sure how that would work because I've only just realized it's possible, but it's certainly a thing to consider. Right, that's the end of the turn, and in the next turn 2 more heroes come to town. This time it's a mage and a cleric, and both of those are likely to come to my dungeon. Both of those have 4 hit points, and I'm currently dealing 3 in my one and only room. if I play this card, I will be able to deal 4 damage. However, I will have a problem when this thief comes into my dungeon. At this point, it's probably worth it to gain 3 souls for the 1 hit point of damage that this one's going to deal me. And I have to build something, so if I can, and I can. So I'm going to go ahead and build the Dizzy Gas Hallway and see what happens in my turn. I'm going to put my hand slightly aside for now so that I can bring my dungeon front and center. And these thieves, these heroes, all of them, in order, come to my dungeon. Oh, while they're in town, sorry, an item also spawns. This item will attach to any hero because of the loot symbol, so it will attach to the first hero in town that doesn't have an item, which would be the second thief. So the first monster to come in, the first thief to come into town, I deal 1 damage to him here and 3 damage to him here, which kills him. The thief goes into my scoring area face down, showing the 1 soul token that I scored, and the item he was carrying goes face up, and now gives me a special ability. Choose a room in any dungeon, ignore its ability until end of turn. That very much is used to weaken your opponent's dungeons so that they take damage instead of gaining souls. The next thief coming into town, you'll notice my first room has a special ability. If the next room in your dungeon is a trap room, it has +2, which makes this a 5 damage room. The 5 damage plus the 1 is 6, which is enough to defeat this thief. However, the thief's equipped item says when this hero enters your dungeon, deactivate the first monster room in your dungeon. These are both trap rooms. I am safe. I am actually able to defeat the hero and gain his item. You can only ever have 1 face-up item in your dungeon at a time, so I have to choose one of these to keep, and it's kind of irrelevant because they're both for attacking my opponents, and I'm not playing with any opponents right now, so I will just choose one at random. The mage is defeated. The cleric is defeated. And I've had a very successful turn. That's it. That's all there is to this game. The interesting part comes more from the fact that your opponents are throwing spells into your dungeon to interfere with the way it's working, and the fact that it's set up to take care of all the heroes as they come in. But then you can use some of your spells to increase the strength of your dungeon. If I had an epic hero come into town and I couldn't defeat him and I couldn't afford to take the hit points, destroy a room in your dungeon, kill any hero in that room. So as the first hero comes into the first room, splat, I destroy the room and destroy the hero and take the points. So there is a little bit of strategy and a little bit of gotcha to the game, a little bit of take that to the game, which does make it a fun game to play. It's a fun game, it's a silly game, it's not a hardcore gamer's game, but it is fun, it's enjoyable, it's good for gamers and non-gamers alike, and the constant culture references throughout the game really do add to the enjoyment level of it. It's rated as from 2 to 4 players, and it actually scales reasonably well. If you look at these symbols at the bottom of the hero cards, there are heroes that you remove from the deck for 3 and 4 for less than 3 and 4 player games, which is its way of scaling to smaller and bigger parties, and it plays reasonably well with 2 as well. So while I can't recommend this game for a hardcore gamer who only ever plays with other hardcore gamers, because it just doesn't have the depth that that type of a person would expect from a good game, for most people, they have their odd casual gamer friend, or they have their video gaming geek friends that they might play the odd game with every now and again. And for those people, there is definitely enjoyment to be had from this game. It's not an expensive game, and I think it's well worth the expense, well worth the cost, I should say. For just about anybody who has any non-gamers to play with. And this has been a review of Boss Monster, the dungeon building card game.
And I am the dreaded Geek. Thanks for watching. Geek.